everybody, and welcome to part 3 of the C++ beginner tutorial. In this episode we're going to be covering more in depth on what the Seaout object does and how to use it. So writing text to the console window. Now we did see this in episode 1 already. We wrote this simple program to print hello YouTube to our screen, and that's all it does. Now we're going to be covering how to format that text, how to make it do different things, and to make it do what we want. So I'm going to go ahead and erase all these integers that we covered last episode, and we're just going to dive straight into the Seaout object. Now Seaout is an object that we pass text or variables into. So we can actually include other stuff besides hello YouTube. We can actually include variables into that to make it read variables to the screen. So if we wanted to, we can make an integer variable and call it num1. Alright, and we can set this equal to 10. Well, we can tell the console that we want to say num1 instead of printing text. We want to print num1, and that's all we want to do. So we just print num1 and that's it. So we'll get a console window, and the only thing it'll contain is a 10. Well, you can actually combine these too. So if you wanted to say the first number is, and then I'm going to use a semicolon and a space. Now this isn't needed, not a semicolon, a colon and a space. That way this is just like the actual text. It's going to include the space in the text. And the reason for the space is, I'll show you in a little bit. Well, we're going to actually do another inserting operation into the Seaout statement, and we're going to pass in the num1, and then that's going to be the end of it. So if we run this, it will run the first number is, and then it'll say colon space 10. Well, if we remove that space on it, it'll just, there won't be a space in between the colon and the 10. So just kind of keep that in mind, because variables do not store spaces. If you want a space, you have to specifically put a space. Same thing if we wanted to type something like a number here. The first number is a number. The text, now there is no space in it, so again it won't print with a space. It'll just say colon, no space, a number. And we can either include a space here and then run it, and it'll have that space, or at the end. Now say that we want to write another line. So we want to write, this is the first line, and then we'll say Seaout, this is the second line. Okay, well if we run that, we would expect it to be on 2 lines because it's on 2 lines here, but it's actually not. So this is the first line, this is the second line, and it's all on 1 line. And the reason for that is that C++, it actually doesn't, these spaces don't matter. This is the same as writing this. That's how the compiler reads it. Because it just knows this ends here, and then this is directly afterwards. So we need to tell the compiler when there is a new line. We need to tell it, hey, yo, I want this on a new line. So there's 2 ways that we can do that. The simplest way is to do /n, and if we run that, it'll, /n. If we do that, it'll be on a separate line here. Now another way to do this, and I actually prefer this way, is to just do another inserter operation and type end L. So that's for end line. We run it, and again that's on a new line. Now there's a couple of these operations. So now, because a \n is a new line, what do you think happens if we just do \? Well, we're gonna run into errors because it's missing an identifier. We can't do a \ in the text. The only way that we can do a \ is to have a double \. And what this is saying is it's like the identifier and then \. And then that'll print the dash there. There's a couple other identifiers, and I'm going to go over them one by one real quick. I have them written down here because I can never remember them because I don't use them that often. So the first one is a /T or /T. And what this does is it makes a horizontal tab. So it actually puts a tab in here. You see how there's a small space? Well, there's no spaces in the text. I can even back this up to show. There's no spaces. What that is a tab in there. And I know it's really small and hard to see, but it's just a couple of spaces there for a tab. The next thing is /A, and what this is going to do is it's going to tone an alarm when we run the program. I don't know if you could hear that. Actually, you could. I saw it might have been a little loud. I do apologize. And it makes the computer do its typical bing. There's an alert like that. Next off, we have the /B. And what this does is it's a backspace. So we'll see here it says this is the first line, but then it's missing the E at the end, and that's because of that backspace command there. Next off we have is R. This is the return value. So this means you can see that it's got nothing afterwards, and it's because we hit enter essentially. So that basically closed that line out. We already went over the backslash. Now, because this line is in quotes, how do we actually put quotes? If we wanted to say this is the first line in quotes, we can't just do this. We can't just add quotations. It just won't work. We get run into problems. So we have to use a backslash and then quotation on each of them, each of the quotations. And then what that's going to do is it's going to let us put that in quotations, and it's the same thing for the single quotes as well. If we want to have a single quote, it's just a backslash single quote. So that's pretty much it for the Seaout statement. Just remember that the Seaout statement needs to have this identifier here in this operator saying that this text is being read into the console. So pointing to the console. That's the way I like to think about it. And you can do a lot of stuff with formatting with these simple commands. You can pass as many different strings or variables as you want into them. Next episode, I'm going to cover how to do math on variables. And it was a big debate for me whether I wanted to cover that or the cin, which is how to get user input. But I decided to do the operators first because it'll be a short, couple minute video, and then we can do more fun stuff with cin. So thanks for watching, guys. Again, like always, if you have any other comments or questions, just leave them in the comments, and thanks for watching. See you around.